Hey, what's going on guys? Jolts here, back with another build video, and today we're going to be covering OP10 Maya. Yes, I do know what you're thinking, Jolts. It's 2021, and you're doing build videos, what the heck, dude? So, long story short, BL3 was like right around the corner, and I didn't have time to cover these. Better late than never? Let's go with that. Anyways, the goal with this video is going to be to cover all the major builds on Maya, so you can take on all the content in the game and know how everything works. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into the build. Starting off, I'm going to cover the Blurred Trickster build, one of my favorites, because it is extremely good for mobbing and pretty good for certain bosses too. For the main healing, we have the Grog Nozzle, and it's unrivaled by any other healing weapon. This gun alone gives you 65% healing based on the damage you do, so all you gotta do is hold it, chuck a Chain Lightning, or do a melee, or anything really, damage over time. You're gonna be back to full HP. Next up, we have a Herald, and you might be thinking, Jolts, why not the Deepa? For all the characters except for Salvador and Axton, you're better off using a regular Herald and not a Deepa, and the reason for that is the ammo consumption and also the recoil. Maya doesn't have any form of recoil reduction, so you're gonna miss a lot of shots, and also for the builds, we don't really use it as a main DPS weapon. It's a good weapon, don't get me wrong, but it's not the best for Maya. Pretty much the main reason I use it is to shoot it and then swap to the Grog Nozzle, and that's gonna bring me back to full HP. The Pimpernel. This is a really high DPS weapon, and it works beautifully on the Trickster build when you're going to be chain reacting enemies. Also, because I prefer going for more of a tanky setup, I don't use the B-Shield all the time, so we went for pure damage on this thing to get the most out of the Reaper skill. The Norfleet. Not really much to say about it, but it's a strong launcher and gives you second wind, so that's all I needed for it. The Blockade. Yes, we are going for a tanky setup, so we don't want our shield breaking. In combination with the Inertia skill and Ward, you can have a really tanky shield. Enemies will have a hard time breaking through this. The Quasar. Now with the Trickster build, you gotta group up enemies, and this will be perfect for that. Also, it'll help break shields, so you can, use fire on flesh and, get your matching elemental bonuses. Bond of the Ancients, pretty much a staple for any build, you get a lot of cooldown and elemental damage. The Blurred Trickster. This will give you a good chunk of fire rate and allow you to actually chain enemies. Keeping it simple, Zero's Boar skill where you shoot through bunker and it multiplies the bullet and kills them instantly? Maya can kinda do that too. With 11 out of 5 on chain reaction, you have an 88% chance to chain your bullets, so if you have a lot of enemies in one location, it will wipe them out. Alright, so I do have a lot of items here, let's go through them real fast. The Peak Opener, this is a really good mobbing and bossing weapon. Basically, it gets a lot more damage than what the card says, and it's pretty awesome. The Toothpick. This weapon is really strong even without the B-Shield, and we also use it for the speed setup over at the Writhing Deep. The map where you find Haderax the Invincible. During the fight, if you put this on with the Retainer Shield, you get a lot of speed in that map. The Leadstorm. This is just a B delivery gun for some of your bigger armored bosses, so this thing works beautifully on Constructors, Binary Boss, Saturn, things like that. Now for OP10, ammo costs a lot of money, so you're gonna run out pretty fast, so we do have some garbage items to sell for money if you need that. The Becca. This weapon is often looked over on a lot of builds, and it's a very strong choice. In fact, it's actually up there with one of the strongest DPS weapons in the game. With Maya, you can keep enemies still and easily go for crits, so at the perfect range, it'll split and you can hit all 4 pellets. The Lyuda, it's a really good mobbing and bossing weapon. Also, it'll take care of your flying enemies too. Some more Norfleet and a Logan's Gun. Again, ammo costs a lot on OP10, so if you put this on with the Sham Shield, you can shoot the floor and regen your rockets. It is a low level, so it will not kill you. The Conference Call. These weapons are nasty, and the Shock one's going to be for Crawl, the Fire one for Haderax, and the Slag one is also for Haderax. As you might know, Haderax can be a pain to slag, so with the Conference Call, it'll slag him almost instantly and he will fall over and you go for the kill. For Lyudas, we have a Rocket Jumping Bada Boom. Put this on with the Sham Shield and you can jump around the maps. The Slaga, this is a really good slagging weapon, but I pretty much only use it for the nurse setup because I don't rely on Moxie weapons. A level 60 Shock Slow Hand. As you might know, Maya has a skill called Backdraft, and when your shield breaks, you release a Fire Nova, but I will show that off a bit later. We have a Slag Slow Hand at a low level. There is a way to insta-kill Haderax using Recompense with this, but we'll get to that in just a second too. The Amigo Sincero. This is only going to be for taking off Pete's helmet and also taking down the Chief during the Voracitus fight. This gun bypasses shields, so you can use this. The Lady Fist. Not really much to say about this, it has a lot of crit damage, put on a B-Shield, you can kill anything if you hit a crit. Some more Pimpernels, we have a Heartbreaker. The Heartbreaker does put out good damage and also to Moxie weapon, so it will heal you. The Fibber. So, Voracitus, as you might know, on OP10 has double HP, so he's almost impossible to kill. Maya can kill him, but it takes a long time, and you're pretty much expending all of your ammo with the B-Shield. So basically, if you want to solo Voracitus on OP10, you're going to be spending all of your ammo, so spam your Sandhog until you're out, and then spam the Fibber until you're out, and then spam the conference call until you're out, and just spend all of your ammo with the B shield, and eventually you'll get the kill. I know it sucks, but that's Veracitus, and he's an unbalanced mess, so that is our best options. The Elemental Flying Sandhawks, and as you might know, this is a really high DPS weapon on Maya. This with the B shield will take down most raid bosses. The Hydra. If you put this thing on with the antagonist shield, you can shoot Hyperius' shield, and upon doing so, the bullets bounce off his shield and bounce off of yours, builds up damage from the antagonist, bounces off his shield, bounces off yours, builds up damage from the antagonist again, and if you're lucky, you'll get a God Chain and will insta-kill Hyperius. It's a pretty fun thing to do, and all the characters can do it. The Bladed Grog Nozzle and the Rapier, Like I did with Salvador, there is a melee setup for Maya. Not that great for bossing, but it's pretty fun for mobbing. Finally, a bunch of basic repeaters so you can equip it to your person and then drop it, and now you have an empty slot. The issue is, because we have an overfilled backpack, we can't really unequip weapons, so that's going to be the way to actually unequip them. We have the other Bone of the Ancients for the other elements, and a Sheriff's Badge. This will give you pistol damage, fire rate, and fight for your lifetime. This thing with the B-Shield and the Lady Fist will massively increase your DPS. Captain Blade's Auto Idol. This is for the Haderax kill, and we'll get to that in a minute. Deputy Badge, that's going to be for the Reflection kill on Hyperius, like I mentioned earlier. The Legendary Siren, one of the best all-around class mods. It's mainly used for the traditional gun build for Maya, but it also works for the melee build too. The Legendary Cat. This is only for bossing. For mobbing, it's complete overkill, but for bossing, pop this on with the Sandhawk and the B-Shield, and you're set. The Legendary Binder. This is going to be for the Thoughtlock build, so you can actually control your enemies. For Thoughtlock, enemies will be focused on the Thoughtlocked enemy, so you can run around and mob and enemies won't even attack you. I'll be showing that build in a little bit. The Legendary Nurse. Sometimes you don't want to rely on Moxie weapons, so there is a build in which you can have all the healing. Now, damage does go down a little bit with this build, but for a co-op setup, I do recommend it. The Warder. Like I mentioned earlier, there is a way to insta-kill Haderax, and with this, that's going to make it happen. But again, we'll get to that in a little bit. The Scorch Banshee, that's going to be for the Backdraft build, so you can spam all the Novas. The Breakneck Banshee. When you have this on with the Rough Rider, you can run really fast. The Crossfire, this is going to be for slugging your tougher enemies like raid bosses. You can see there it says it has one fuse, but that is not true. That is a visual bug, and it really has 0 fuse. The Fastball, so sometimes I want a damage grenade, so this is going to be a really good choice. The Stormfront, if you chuck one of these while holding the Grog, you will stay at full HP. Also, the Stormfront can shoot projectiles out of midair. So if a skeleton throws a sword, or the treants, shoot those electrical balls, yeah, the Stormfront will break them. Chain Lightning, if you're holding the Grog, you chuck this and you're back to full HP. A low-level magic missile just for slagging, but I don't use it very often. A low-level Shockbuster Clock for the Backdraft build. We'll get to that in a bit. A bunch of garbage grenades for taking off your grenade mod, because like I said before, you can't unequip stuff. Your inventory is like way too full. So if you put one of these on, you can go ahead and drop it, and now you can grenade jump. For the shields, we have the Retainer, and when you put this on with the Toothpick weapon, you can run really fast in the Writhing Deep map. Evolution, it gives you good elemental resistance. That's pretty much only for the tougher maps like the Beatdown or something like that. Also, I do use it for the Nurse Maya build. The Antagonist, like I said before, that's going to be for Hyperius. You shoot a shield, it reflects off of you, and builds up damage. The Big Boom Blaster, that's only for Master Gi. So when you pick up a booster, you get grenades, and you can get more singularities. With those singularities, you can pull them towards the acidic pools. The 94 Sham, that's going to be for rocket jumping, and also regenerating your rocket ammo with the Logan's Gun. Low-level Transformer, that's for the Backdraft build, but we'll get to that in a second too. Inflammable Bee and Alkaline Bee. Inflammable is going to be for the peak, because a lot of enemies do fire damage. And this Alkaline Bee is pretty much just for the Chromorex fight. Now we do have another Alkaline Bee right here, and that's just for Veracitus. It does have a T-Door battery, so it will have less recharge delay. And during the Veracitus fight, you pretty much need the fastest shield you can get. A Love Thumper for the melee build, so your shield's going to be down, which means you get Fleet, and you can run around and poke your enemies. Finally, we have the Rough Rider, and that's just for the Fleet build, so you put this on with the Breakneck Banshee, and you can run fast. That's it for all the gears, so let's go ahead and go over the skill tree. So this skill tree right here is what I use for the Blurred Trickster build, and I'm going to go ahead and go over it now. Also, I do want to go over each skill because some of them have some hidden stuff to it that you might not know, and also I will clarify why I use it or don't use it for certain builds. First off, Ward, you get shield capacity and recharge delay. Pretty straightforward, good for your shields, it'll make sure you don't die. Accelerate. For the most part, this skill is not that great for the builds I'm going to be covering, and the reason for that is because it gives you bullet speed. What that means is your special weapons that split after a distance will actually be worse. For example, when you shoot the Lyuda, you know how it splits into 3? Well, now you gotta be a lot further away to split your pellet. This will also ruin the spread on the Becca, or the Herald, or the Pimpernel, and a lot of other things. Plus, that gun damage is a very small amount and is additive in the formula, so it's not going to make a huge difference. Suspension. This will give you more face lock duration. Yeah, this skill is really good because it does synergize with your Thought Lock or your Elated, Wreck, and you do get some pretty good bonuses out of those. Kinetic Reflection. You really don't need a lot of points here, but you can if you want to. We're already going to be so tanky that our damage reduction is already going to be great. Fleet. If you have a depleted shield by, wearing the Rough Rider, then you can run fast. The issue is, I don't really use it all the time. I use it sometimes, so I don't really want to waste the points there. But if I'm doing some casual farming that involves a lot of running, I will spec into it. Converge. 99% of the time, you do want this skill. When you face lock an enemy, it will create a singularity and pull all the enemies towards them. Remember, the closer enemies are, the better chance we have for the Blurred Trickster to go off, and that means for this build you can multiply your pellet count really easily and go for all the kills. Also, in combination with the Ruin skill, you can slag all your enemies when they're all close together. Inertia. When you get a kill, you get shield regen and a lot of reload speed. Quicken, that gives you better cooldown, so faster face locks back. Subsequence, so when your face lock enemy dies, it will track another enemy and put them in face lock again. On top of that, it's going to reactivate our Converge and Ruin skills, so enemies are all going to be slagged too. Thought Lock. When you face lock an enemy, they will be under your control for your face lock duration, and enemies will all focus on that enemy instead, and you can run around and do whatever you want. With that in mind, you can easily pick off your skills and not have to worry about being shot. Now, there is a very small downside, which is going to give you more cooldown, so you're going to have to wait an extra 3 seconds for your new face lock. Mind's Eye. That will give you more crit and melee damage. Sweet Release. When a face locked enemy is killed, you're going to get healing, and this is Maya's best healing skill in her skill tree. This will jump you back up to full HP. Now, there is a hidden effect with this skill, and that is that when you kill the enemy that is face locked, it'll make enemies in a huge radius around you aggro. Yeah, so when you get that kill, you're going to see a bunch of red dots appear on your minimap. Now, that's not always a bad thing. That's actually pretty good for this build because you want to have enemies grouped together. So if they're all coming at you, you can go ahead and converge them together and easily get your chain reaction kill. Restoration, you can shoot your teammates and heal them, so not really a good skill for solo. Wreck. When an enemy is face locked, you get more fire rate and gun damage. This is Maya's best DPS skill. Don't pass it up. Elated, when an enemy's face locked, you're going to regen HP. We don't super need this, but we got to move down the skill tree, and the other skills really don't matter. Res, you can face lock your teammate and get them out of fight for your life. Not really good for solo. Recompense. When you take health damage, it will return it back at the enemy, and this skill is really not that great. It sounds good on paper, but enemies have so much HP on OP10 that it does not make a difference at all. The only reason I would ever take this skill is just for the Haderax insta-kill, but again, we'll get to that in a little bit. Sustenance. You will constantly regen HP depending on how low your HP is. This skill gives a garbage amount and is really not worth it. Life Tap. When you get a kill, you get HP back. This skill is really good because with only up to 2 points in it, you can get above health gate. And if you don't know what health gate is, if you're above half HP, you cannot be one-shotted. Like, the game will stop you at a small sliver of HP for a few seconds so you can regen it back. So yeah, 2 points there will make sure you're above health gate if you get a kill. Now you can max it out if you want to, but I don't really bother unless I'm going for Scorn. And speaking of Scorn, this skill is a slag ball you can throw out if you press the melee button, and it will attach to enemies and slag them up for you. Now, this skill is situational. It's not really all that bad. The main reason for it is not only slag, but also to destroy projectiles. Yeah, so if a tree ant's throwing shock balls at you, you can throw one of these and it will destroy them out of midair. On top of that, it will also break your destructibles like barrels, pots, and skag piles. Pretty cool skill. Flicker. This will increase your chance for applying status effects. For Maya, you already have crazy slag applications like Ruined, and you have a short cooldown, so yeah, don't bother maxing this out. It's not going to make a huge difference. We only put the points there to move down the skill tree for later on. Foresight, this will give you more mag size and reload speed. Immolate, when you're in fight for your life, you will get bonus fire damage. Yes, this is situational, but this skill is broken and multiplicative. So after you apply all of your other skills, it will put this at the end of the formula and then multiply it again. In other words, you are getting insane fire damage in fight for your life. So if you shoot one Northfleet, you're almost guaranteed to get a second wind. Helios, when you face lock an enemy, you create a fiery explosion. Not a good skill, doesn't scale good, don't bother grabbing it. Chain reaction, this is the skill you want for this build. When you shoot a face locked enemy, that bullet can chain out to another enemy. So with all of your enemies grouped up in one area, you can shoot them once and they will pretty much all die. Again, this skill is kinda like Bore on Maya. Cloud kill, when you shoot the enemy, they create a corrosion cloud around them, and that corrosion cloud does stupid damage. No joke, this skill alone can actually kill enemies. On top of that, if you swap to a Grog, you're instantly full HP. Backdraft, when you melee the enemy, you will do fire damage, which is not that great. But when your shield breaks, you will create a fiery nova. Now with the Backdraft build, this skill is pretty awesome. You will be able to spam novas like crazy. Alright, let's go ahead and show off the Backdraft setup, and if you guys are epileptic, I'll put a timestamp above you because this build is very flashy. Just go to that timestamp and you can skip this part. For the Backdraft setup, you want to have a Shock Slowhand, a low-level Transformer, a low-level Shock Buster Clock, and a Scorch Banshee. And you can see here, with 11 out of 5 on Backdraft, you will create a fiery explosion when your shield is broken and refills. But with the Transformer, you can actually break your shield and regen it right away with shock damage. With that in mind, you can create Novas whenever you want to on demand. Check it out. So I'm going to shoot the floor, and that was 3 Novas because the slow hands times 3, and the Shock Buster Clock, that's 7 of them, so that's going to be 7 Novas when they go off. And with that in mind, you can grip up your enemies, throw one of these, and then shoot the floor, and you're going to create a lot of Novas. Now you can see there we are actually taking a little bit of damage, but with these being a low level, it's a very small amount. Also with the slow hand, it does heal, so when you're actually hitting enemies, you will be healing. Yeah, this build is really cool for mobbing, but not that great for bossing. Reaper, when enemies are above half HP, you get bonus gun damage. 40% is a good chunk, so make sure you grab that. Alright, you might be thinking, why the 1 point in Blight Phoenix? The damage of this skill is garbage, and the only reason we use it is because when you get a kill, you will be surrounded by a fire and corrosive damage over time. Like, it won't damage you, but you're just like surrounded by it. That means if a melee-based enemy runs up to you and tries to melee you, they can touch that aura and actually stagger. That's actually huge because you just stopped a melee enemy from, attacking you. Not a bad skill if you're using something like the B shield and want to keep that up. And finally, we have Ruin, so when you face lock the enemy, they take all the damages over time. The most important one though is it is guaranteed slag. That also goes for raid bosses too, so raid bosses are known for being hard to slag. This has got you covered. Now for the way to insta-kill Haderax, you will need a way to slag yourself, so slow hand, because we're going to be using Recompense. And with Recompense, when enemies damage us, they get damage back. For some odd reason, Haderax damages you millions of times per second. I don't know the exact amount, but you can basically insta-kill him with this setup. So if you slag yourself and deliver the damage back, well, he's gonna take triple damage from slag, which means he dies. So yeah, you want to make sure you have a slow hand to slag yourself, or some way to slag yourself. A toothpick and retainer to run fast, so if I hold that, you can see we're speedy in this map. Then you also need your, what else here? Warner to make sure you have at least 10 or 11 out of 5 on Recompense. And finally, a auto-idle just to make sure you don't die. So after you kill Haderax with Recompense, you will normally go in a fight for your life. But if you get that kill and have the auto-idle on, it will make sure you don't die. So let's do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Press the button. Down we go. And we gotta rush over to the hole here. And we're gonna stand like right in the middle of it. So about right here should be good. And now we're gonna slag ourselves. And now we wait. He pops up. Okay, right there we actually failed. That can happen. Not very often, but it can happen. So let me try again. All right, try number 2. Let's stand a little more in the center. That's good. Slag yourself. He pops up. There we go. That's good. And now he instantly dies. Isn't that cool? Yeah, Recompense is a little broken with this dude. And as far as I know, it doesn't work on any other boss. So you're only really going to get use out of it here. I do want to point out that if you're playing on, I think, OP7 and below, you don't have to slag yourself. Haderax has a lot of HP on OP10, so that's why you got to get that triple damage. Anyways, I think I got everything covered, and I'm not going to explain every build in detail for this video because that would take literally another hour. So instead, I will show you that in montage form. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and of course, if you did, then please be sure to leave a like because that'd be awesome. And if you guys really enjoyed it, be sure to sub. You guys have a great day, and I will see you all later. Peace out.